Welcome back to Old Coins, the channel where history comes alive. Today, we are exploring another fascinating coin filled with unique stories, hidden details, and incredible value. Every old coin holds a piece of the past, and here on Old Coins, we uncover its history, its importance, and everything collectors need to know. So sit back and enjoy as we begin the deep journey into today's coin, only on Old Coins. The 1996p Washington quarter is one of the final issues of the classic eagle reverse design that had been used since the coin's introduction in 1932. By 1996, the Washington quarter had been in circulation for 6 to 4 years, and its familiar design was deeply rooted in American identity. This coin belongs to the late modern clad era, a time when the quarter was one of the most heavily used denominations across the United States. Before the dramatic shift that occurred in 1999 with the launch of the 50-state quarters program, the 1996p quarter stands as one of the final representatives of the long-running traditional design. Although it is a common circulation coin with hundreds of millions minted, it holds significant historical and numismatic value as a symbol of American monetary continuity, technological progress at the U.S. Mint, and everyday economic life during the 1990s. On the obverse, the 1996p quarter displays the unmistakable portrait of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. Washington's left-facing profile highlights a refined structure of his nose, forehead, lips, and chin, while his hair is tied back in a colonial ribbon, reminding Americans of their revolutionary heritage. Above his head, in bold letters, appears the patriotic word liberty, which embodies the ideals upon which the United States was founded. To the left of Washington's neck is a national motto, "In God We Trust," a phrase that has been widely used on U.S. coins for more than a century and officially adopted as a national motto in 1956. At the bottom of the obverse is a date 1996, clearly identifying the year mintage. To the right of the bust is a Mintmark P, representing the Philadelphia Mint, which struck a massive portion of the nation's circulating coinage in the 1990s. The obverse design remained largely unchanged from the earlier decades, although small modifications in engraving and die preparation have been implemented over time to ensure cleaner strikes on clad planchets. The reverse of the coin features the iconic heraldic eagle, a symbol deeply embedded in American history and national identity. Designed by John Flanagan as well, the eagle is shown with its wings fully spread, perched firmly upon a bundle of 13 arrows, which represent the original 13 colonies and symbolize the country's preparedness to defend itself. Underneath the arrows rests an olive branch, signifying peace, a reminder that while America is always prepared for conflict, its preference is peace through strength. At the top of the reverse, curving over the eagle's wings, is the inscription United States of America. Just below that appears the traditional motto E Pluribus Unum, which translates to out of many, one, referring to the unity of the states forming a single nation. At the bottom of the coin, the denomination quarter dollar is stamped in large letters. This reverse would remain in use for only a few more years before being replaced by the rotating designs of the state quarters program beginning in 1999. Regarding composition, the 1996p quarter follows the modern clad coin standard adopted after 1965. The coin features a pure copper core surrounded by outer layer composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it its familiar silvery appearance while ensuring durability. The coin weighs 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 24.26 millimeters, a thickness of 1.75 millimeters, and a reeded edge. The reeded edge, a carryover from the silver coinage era, originally protected the coin from illegal filing or shaving, but by 1996 it primarily served traditional and aesthetic purposes. The copper core can be seen from the side, and this clad structure was especially useful for vending machines and coin-operated systems, which by the 1990s relied heavily on precise weight and metal detection mechanisms. The Philadelphia Mint struck an extremely large quantity of 1996p quarters, over 925 million coins, reflecting the intense national demand for quarters during the 1990s. Quarters were the backbone of everyday commerce, used in vending machines, parking meters, toll booths, arcade games, laundromats, and public phones. Because so many entered circulation, the majority of surviving 1996p quarters show heavy wear, dark toning, abrasions, and loss of original mint luster. Uncirculated specimens, especially those with strong luster and minimal contact marks, are far less common in pocket chain today and are often obtained from old mint sets or rolls saved shortly after issue. The strike quality on 1996p quarters varies. Philadelphia coins of the 1990s were typically well struck overall, but with such large production numbers, die wear and fatigue were inevitable. Many coins exhibit softness in Washington's hair detail, flattening on the eagle's chest feathers, or slight weakness in the arrows and olive branch. Collectors seeking premium examples look for coins with crisp detailing, minimal abrasions, and rich mint luster. High-grade mint state examples, MS66, MS67, and especially MS68, become significantly scarcer and more valuable, largely because most of the mintage was produced for circulation and exposed to rough handling. The era and variety landscape for the 1996p quarter is relatively modest but still noteworthy. While there are no major listed double-die varieties or dramatic mintmark varieties for this date, minor die chips, die cracks, die clashes, and misaligned die strikes exist. Die cracks commonly appear along Washington's bust, around the lettering, or on the eagle's wings. Die chips can form inside letters such as the R in Liberty or the eagle's feathers. Off-center strikes ranging from slight misalignments to dramatic errors are also known and are sought after by collectors, depending on how visible and well-centered the error is. Other collectible errors include broad strikes, clipped planches, and struck-through debris. Because 1996p quarters were produced in such massive quantities, even a small percentage of production errors results in a noticeable number of surviving pieces, but only the strongest, most eye-catching errors carry significant value. Historically, the 1996p quarter is significant not for rarity but for its place in the timeline of U.S. coinage. It belongs to the final decade of the traditional quarter before the major redesign wave that transformed American numismatics beginning in 1999. The period from 1990 to 1998 was a time of relative stability in U.S. circulating coin design, with the Washington portrait and eagle reverse unchanged after decades of use. The 1996p quarter symbolizes the end of an era where U.S. coins were stable, practical, and produced in massive quantities for everyday use, before the advent of highly collectible circulating commemorative series. Within just 3 years of this coin's release, the appearance of the quarter would forever change, giving the 1996p issue even greater historical value in hindsight. Culturally and economically, this coin reflects American life during the mid-1990s, a period of technological transition, booming economy, rapid expansion of electronic systems, and emergence. The 1990D Washington quarter, minted at the Denver Mint, represents one of the later year issues of the classic Washington quarter series, which had been in continuous production since 1932. Although it is a modern circulation strike, the coin continues a legacy of a design originally intended as a one-year commemorative honoring the 200th birth anniversary of George Washington, the first President of the United States. By 1990, the design had already been used for nearly 6 decades, becoming deeply familiar to Americans. The 1990D quarter sits in an interesting phase of U.S. numismatic history where quarters were still made from the modern clad composition introduced in 1965, yet the nation was slowly preparing for future changes in the quarter program that would later emerge in 1999 with the 50 state quarters. The 1990D quarter thus stands as a typical example of late 20th century American currency, practical, mass-produced, durable, and instantly recognizable, while also being a snapshot of the nation's economic and minting practices at the time. The obverse of the 1990D Washington quarter features the classic portrait of George Washington, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. The design shows Washington facing left, his profile strong, with detailed hair tied in a colonial-style queue. Above his head appears the word Liberty, a key motto of the United States and a symbolic reminder of the ideals on which the country was founded. Just to the left of Washington's neck, you will find the motto "In God We Trust," which since 1956 has been the official motto of the United States. Beneath Washington's portrait lies the date 1990, showing the year the coin was struck. On the right side of the bust, near the edge of the coin, appears the mint mark D, indicating that the coin was produced at the Denver Mint in Colorado. The obverse design remained largely unchanged from the pre-1965 silver quarters, except for small adjustments made over time to improve strike quality and metal flow for the clad planchets. The reverse side of the quarter, also designed by John Flanagan, depict a majestic heraldic eagle, a long-standing national symbol of the United States. The eagle is shown with outstretched wings, perched on a bundle of arrows, which symbolize strength and readiness for defense. Beneath the eagle is an olive branch, symbolizing a desire for peace. At the top of the reverse, the inscription United States of America arcs above the eagle. Just below the name of the country is a familiar motto, E pluribus unum, which means out of many, one, a phrase expressing the unity of the American states and people. At the bottom of the coin, the words quarter dollar declare its denomination. This reverse design remained unchanged from 1932 through 1998, making the 1990D quarter a continuation of this traditional imagery before the era of rotating quarter designs began. In terms of composition, the 1990D Washington quarter is made from the standard-clad metal formula introduced in 1965 to replace the 90% silver composition used earlier. The coin consists of a pure copper core with outer layers of a 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy. This creates what is known as a copper-nickel clad coin. The thickness of the coin is 1.75 millimeters, the diameter is 24.26 millimeters, and it weighs 5.67 grams. The edge is reeded, meaning it has raised grooves, a feature originally intended to deter fraudulent practices such as shaving silver from the edges of coins. Although silver was no longer used by 1990, the reeded edge remained part of the design tradition. The Denver Mint produced a very large number of 1990D quarters, well over 927 million coins, making this date common in circulation. Because of such high mintages, most circulated examples hold only face value, unless they exhibit unusual errors or exceptional sharpness. Denver coins of this era are known for generally strong strikes, though some minor weaknesses or die fatigue can occur after long production runs. Collectors often seek examples in mint state condition, especially grades MS65, MS66, and higher, where the coin shows no circulation wear, full luster, and minimal marks. These higher-grade pieces can be worth more due to their scarcity, even among such a common date. A significant aspect of the 1990D quarter is its place within the broader historical context of U.S. coinage. By 1990, the Washington quarter had already been struck for 58 years, and the minting process had become highly automated and efficient. The Denver Mint, known for its high-speed presses and mass production capability, was responsible for striking hundreds of millions of coins annually to meet the country's growing economic demands. As a result, the 1990D quarter reflects the technological advancements in minting, more refined dyes, better metal bonding for clad coins, and improved quality control compared to earlier decades. Collectors also examine varieties and errors associated with the 1990D quarter. Although this date is not widely known for major listed varieties like double dyes or repunch Mintmarks, minor errors do exist. These can include off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, die chips, sometimes seen around the Mintmark or lettering, and planchet errors. Such pieces can hold premium value depending on severity and visual appeal. The Denver Mint's Mintmark D itself is crisp and machine-applied, meaning variations are typically minute and not classified as official varieties. From a circulation standpoint, the 1990D quarter was heavily used in everyday commerce throughout the 1990s and early 2000s. Quarters were essential in public payphones, vending machines, parking meters, and laundromats, places where digital systems had not yet fully replaced coin-operated mechanisms. As a result, most 1990D quarters experience heavy wear, losing much of their original mint luster, gaining scratches and contact marks, and developing darker surface tones from handling. Finding a pristine example in pocket change today is increasingly rare simply because most high-quality coins were either spent long ago or stored by collectors early. The 1990D quarter marks one of the final decades of the classic eagle reverse design. Only 8 years later, in 1999, the quarter series transformed entirely with the launch of the 50-state quarters program, which replaced the eagle reverse with rotating designs representing each state. Because of this major shift, Quarters from the 1990s, like the 1990D, serve as important last-stage representatives of the old traditional style, the stable period before the explosion of design diversity that followed. In summary, the 1990D Washington Quarter is a common but historically meaningful coin representing the late era of the classic Washington and heraldic eagle design. It carries the full symbolism of American identity, liberty, unity, peace, and strength, and holds significance of collectors due to its position in numismatic history, Denver Mint craftsmanship, and its role in everyday American commerce for decades. While not rare, it remains an essential reference point in the timeline of U.S. quarters and a reminder of the country's transition from traditional coinage to modern commemorative series. The 1978 Washington Quarter represents a late 20th century circulation coin from the United States, struck during a period when the classic Washington design had already been used for nearly half a century. First introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, the design eventually became permanent, continuing through many political, economic, and technological changes. By 1978, the United States Mint had fully transitioned into the modern clad era, and the quarter was one of the most heavily used coins in everyday commerce. The 1978 quarter therefore stands as a snapshot of the American economy before the dramatic changes that came in the late 20th century, including the widespread introduction of electronic payments, modernization of minting technology, and the eventual redesign of the quarter in 1999. Although it is a common date, the 1978 quarter remains an important part of numismatic history because it represents the stable, pre-state quarter era where the Washington design had remained unchanged for decades. The obverse of the 1978 Washington Quarter features the well-known portrait of George Washington, sculpted by John Flanagan. Washington is shown in left-facing profile, his hair tied in a colonial-style queue, with fine detailing in the waves and tie. Above his portrait appears a large inscription, Liberty, symbolizing the foundational principle upon which the United States was formed. To the left of Washington's neck is a motto, In God We Trust, which had become a standard element of American currency since the mid-19th century and officially adopted as a national motto in 1956. Beneath the bust is the date 1978, marking the year of mintage. Quarters minted in Philadelphia during this year carry no mint mark, as a P mint mark was not added to Philadelphia quarters until 1980. This absence of a mint mark is expected and normal, not an error. The obverse design of 1978 fits into the broader continuity of the design series, with only minor modifications made over the decades to improve die durability and strike quality on modern clad planchets. The reverse of the 1978 quarter displays a majestic heraldic eagle, also designed by John Flanagan. This eagle, with wings fully outstretched, is perched on a bundle of 13 arrows, representing America's readiness to defend itself and symbolizing the original 13 colonies. Just beneath the arrows lies an olive branch, a universal emblem of peace, expressing the nation's desire for harmony even while maintaining strength. At the top of the reverse, arching above the eagle, is the inscription United States of America. Immediately below that is a Latin motto, E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, representing national unity. At the bottom appears a denomination quarter dollar. This reverse design remained essentially unchanged from 1932 until 1998, making the 1978 quarter part of the final decades of the Washington Eagle series before the radical redesign that arrived with the 50-state quarters in 1999. The composition of the 1978 quarter follows the clad metal structure adopted in 1965, which replaced the earlier 90% silver alloy use up to 1964. The coin is composed of a copper core with outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it a silver-colored appearance while remaining highly durable and cost-effective. The total weight of the coin is 5.67 grams, and it measures 24.26 millimeters in diameter, with a thickness of 1.75 millimeters. Like other quarters of this era, it has a reeded edge, a series of groove lines around the coin's perimeter, originally intended to prevent dishonest practices such as shaving precious metal from the edges of silver coins. Although silver was long gone from the quarter's composition by 1978, the reeded edge remained a traditional and functional design element. In terms of mintage, the Philadelphia Mint produced more than 521 million 1978 quarters, making it a highly common issue in circulation. Quarters were in enormous demand during the 1970s due to widespread use in vending machines, transportation systems, laundromats, public telephones, and various mechanical services. The 1970s economy was also characterized by inflation and high usage of coinage, especially quarters, which were essential for daily life. As a result, the 1978 quarter circulated heavily, and most surviving examples show significant wear. Uncirculated examples do exist, but must be preserved carefully to maintain value. Collectors often pursue mint state MS grades, especially MS65, MS66, and MS67, where the coin maintains full luster and minimal contact marks. These high-grade examples can be surprisingly scarce because of the heavy usage patterns of the era. The Philadelphia Mint in 1978 was operating at high capacity, producing billions of coins annually across all denominations. The quarter was among the most difficult coins to strike perfectly because of its size and clad structure. As a result, minor strike imperfections, such as softness in Washington's hair or incomplete feather details on the eagle, are common. Collectors who seek premium examples usually look for quarters with sharp strikes, clean surfaces, and strong mint luster. Because this was before modern laser-engraved and computer-assisted die technology, 1978 dies were cut, polished, and replaced manually, adding to natural variation seen across different production batches. Although the 1978 quarter is not known for major varieties, there are some minor errors that collectors pursue. Among them are die cracks, which appear as raised lines on the coin caused by small fractures on aging dies. These often appear near the date, around Washington's profile, or on the eagle's wings. Die chips, which are small filled-in areas in the design caused by broken die pieces, can appear inside letters or near the eagle's claws. Off-center strikes, broad strikes, clip planches, and misaligned dies also exist for this year and can command premiums depending on severity and eye appeal. However, there are no widely recognized major double die varieties for the 1978 quarter, making errors the primary form of collectible variation. From an economic perspective, the 1978 quarter circulated intensely during an era when American life still relied heavily on physical currency. Public payphones, arcade machines, washing machines, parking meters, and public transit systems commonly require quarters. Credit cards were not yet universal, and digital commerce was decades away. As a result, nearly every household had quarters in jars, pockets, or drawers, and the coins accumulated years of wear. This heavy usage means most 1978 quarters today show darkening, scratches, loss of detail, and smooth surfaces. Coins that escape circulation, either through coin collecting or storage in original mint sets, are the ones that remain desirable today. The historical significance of the 1978 quarter lies not in rarity, but in its role as a transitional piece leading toward the modernization of U.S. coinage. By the late 1970s, discussions had already begun about redesigning the Washington quarter. Although nothing was implemented until the state quarters program began in 1999, the 1978 issue represents the final stable period of the classic eagle design before the United States Mint embarked on large-scale commemorative and rotating designs that changed the look of the quarter forever. Thus, a 1978 quarter embodies the end of a long era. After this, the quarter would go on to become one of the most artistically flexible.